In this video, we're going to briefly go over the Grasshopper interface by looking at this simple definition that makes a circle with a variable radius. So definition is the word that we use for a Grasshopper file. It's a grouping of components, and each one of these objects that we see on the screen here is called a component. So if we wanted to make this definition, we could do it a few ways. So up at the top here, you see there are a bunch of tabs that each have sets of components. And so if you want to make a definition, you could go through these tabs, and you could find, in this case, we would go to the curve tab, and we would find the circle center point component. You'll notice also as I hover over things, I can get more information in Grasshopper. If you're trying to figure something out, that's a great technique. You can hover over any component, get some more information. So if I wanted to make this way, I could click here, click down on the window, and I would have my circle component. I prefer to do a double click, which brings up a keyword search, and I would start typing circle, and then I would look for the circle option I wanted. And again, if I needed more information, I hover. So in this case, I want a circle defined by the center, so I would click that, and I have it. So if I want to get rid of a component, which I do right now because there are too many of these, I can click on that. When it turns green, it's highlighted, and I can hit delete to get rid of it. So the next thing I need to do to make this circle is to put in a center point. So if I hover over, so this side we have inputs, this side we have outputs. So if I hover over any of the inputs, I can see what it's asking for. And in this case, it's asking for a point. It says empty point parameter. And I could do that either by defining a point from Rhino and inputting it, or I could give the Cartesian coordinates of that point. In this case, I'm going to do that by making a panel component. And the quick way to do a panel, you double click, and you can either type panel, or you can do // which makes a panel. And in this case, I want my center point of my circle to be 0, 0, 0, so I can just do // 0, 0, 0, enter, and I have a panel that contains the information that I just typed. So I'm going to resize this just by going to the corner and dragging it down, and then I need to connect this panel to the point part. So I take the output area and I drag it over and plug it in. So now I have a circle that is about the point 0, 0, 0. So the next part of this is to define the normal. In this case, it's just saying, what orientation do you want this circle? We're not going to deal with that right now. The last part is the radius, and I would like to have a radius that I can change very easily, so I would make a slider component. So you can make sliders in multiple ways. If you double click and just type a number, like let's say 15, it will immediately make a number slider that starts at 15. And that slider in this case is going between 0 and 100 with the starting value where I put it. I actually prefer to have a little more control over my sliders most of the time, so what I'll do is say my starting value that I want is 0, and then I say ... I want my, I want the starting value of the slider to be 0. I want the value that the actual slider is starting at to be 15, and I want that to go to 50, so I'll say ... 50. Enter, and now I have a slider that goes between 0 and 50. And then I would drag the output of this slider to the input of the radius, and then when I move this, I have a circle whose radius is defined by the slider.